Now, with that segue, we want to talk entertainment news and Rick's reviews because I find it funny that they had this huge sale right before a biopic comes out about Napoleon when everybody's getting more interested.
What a coincidence.
Everybody's trying to make money.
Exactly.
So you saw the movie. It comes out today. Tell us about Napoleon.
Yeah, you know, I had great hopes for this film because of the pedigree to it. I mean, Ridley Scott's the director, and he has an incredible resume of work. And Joaquin Phoenix, it's really turned in some amazing dramatic roles. What I found was that they made some really bad decisions in the writing, and this is one of the dullest films I've seen in a long time.
Really?
Now imagine making Napoleon Bonaparte's life dull.
Yeah.
What happens is, instead of trying to make him the grand emperor, big general that he was, the romantic man that he was with Josephine, they end up making him sort of a brooding toddler. You know, it's like when things go bad for him, he just gets quiet. There's no passion to him no matter what he does. Even the scenes with Josephine, and Vanessa Kirby plays Josephine, who is entirely wasted in this because 80% of her scenes are just staring off into space. But there's no connection between them, so when they begin to have troubles, or when they begin to come back together, you don't care about any of that. It's just a film. Now, Ridley Scott has a tremendous skill at doing battle sequences.
Yes.
And most of the battle scenes in here are amazing, including the Waterloo scene, which comes near the end of the movie. That's not a spoiler. We should know by now what that means. But whether it's CGI or practical, it is amazing to look at. It's amazing to see how it's staged. Unfortunately, the parts that should be the most interesting parts, the human story in between, just plays so brooding and dull and plodding along. You know, this movie's 2.5 hours long, but it will seem much longer just because of Phoenix's sort of laid back, almost to the point of coma, way he performed the character and the direction they took with the story. And also, you've got Napoleon Bonaparte, whose life was amazing. You could just spend weeks in a series on it, and they just sort of skip and skip and skip. So you really don't know, well, how did we get to this point? Why did, when did he become this leader? When did their relationship fall apart? So in the end, it all just becomes this sort of dull drudgery to get through this movie. And that's a shame, considering who's involved with it.
Yeah, that's so frustrating because we've seen Joaquin Phoenix do so many of these large biography roles.
Yeah.
And so you hear Napoleon, and Alex and I were talking about it this morning, he's got to be the perfect one to play it.
You know, it's always, every time I've seen Joaquin Phoenix play, there's always something behind his eyes, whether it's a hint of insanity or a hint of sanity.
Yeah.
Here, there's nothing. There's just this dullness to it. And it's almost like, well, I got my check. I'm playing, this character's probably going to win me an Oscar. And I don't think, the performance that I saw is not worthy of an Oscar by any stretch. And I had great hopes for this movie.
Right, it's not his typical work, you think?
No, not at all.
How frustrating. So then, with that said, I want to hear what your grade is for it. And should we go ahead and see it because the battle scenes are good on the big screen, or should we wait for it to come home? You know,
I'm giving it a C+, and that's being generous simply because of the battle sequences. Okay. And if that's all you really want, I guess you should pay the money. But again, it's 2.5 hours, and so much of it is this dull story, lifeless characters in between those battle sequences that I can't recommend you sit in a theater all that long, unless you're willing to take a nap in between the battles. Otherwise, it's going to be a test of your fortitude.
Oh well, thank you so much for that. I joke because during the commercial break we were talking about having too much turkey and taking a nap. So maybe don't have your leftovers before you go see it.
Napoleon is the tryptophan of movies.
The tryptophan of movies. Thank you so much for your reviews. We'll see you next week.
All right.